Welcome back. It's me, Pikiss-Chris,
And I am Basterd Swordsman.
and this is another episode of Scenes from a podcast where there are scenes of us watching scenes from a movie. And I think I did this joke already in another episode, but you don't say no in improv. You know what I mean?
Well, this is a very avant-garde podcast where scenes are just repeated verbatim.
Yeah, it's a bit off the cuff like that. We're very bad at improv is the thing here. That's the gimmick.
Yeah. Damn. Yeah, I definitely work a lot better with a pre-written script. I don't know if I've said that before, but I'm terrible on the spot. But if I can sort of organize my ideas and put them to paper and then I can read from them, then, I'm a far better speaker, although I still need to get rid of likes and reallys and, unnecessary modifiers.
Yeah. No, I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
The hamster on the wheel stopped there for a second. But I will say this much. The scripts for like your videos are like leagues ahead more sophisticated than like the scripts for my basically dead other YouTube channel. So
My channel's been kind of dead as well, but I am actually getting into making something else. There were two videos I want to make and the first one is on ReZero, anime light novel series, and the second one is on the movie Titan, which I have wanted to do for like over a year, but just haven't really gotten around to that. And mixture of factors. Part of it is work. That's like the biggest one. Don't really have as much time to do stuff when you work.
yeah. No,
Another job.
sucks. Work. We should abolish work. We should live in a socialist anarchist commune where no one has to work. And we can
I
all
think that
we can all
I
make
think there's a
video essays.
country called I think there's a country called Brunei in Asia where um pretty much like everything but food is just automatically provided for the citizens, like heat, water, and even housing. But so like a lot of people just don't want to work.
Must be like a really small country then to like for
It
that.
is they're like only like 500,000 people or something.
Yeah, because I gotta say, if it was like even like the size of Texas, I don't think that would be sustainable.
Yeah.
You know.
Um. But yeah, maybe we shouldn't get into too into the political state of the world because first off, just not really very good at it. Not good at discussing that.
I
Not
don't
really
know.
intelligent enough.
I've always wanted to try my hand at being canceled.
Oh, um, damn. I would rather not. Disclaimer: I don't endorse the opinions of my co-host.
I think all the bad things are good, actually. Somebody had to say it.
Well, how can you say that? Yeah, I'm posting a twit longer on you.
Twit long. A twit
Uh,
longer. They call it Twitter because that's where all the twits are. I,
yeah. Speaking of twits, the Oscar nominations happened.
oh yeah. Uh, the big controversy where everyone's angry that Margot Robbie didn't get Best Actress nomination
I
because
mean,
sometimes.
It's because it's a win for it would have been a win for feminism if she beat a Native American woman. We need more white women in the awards contention.
Yeah, no, it, it's okay. So I didn't see the Barbie movie, uh,
Me neither.
but like I don't even think it's Greta Gerwig's best film. Like,
I think it probably will be because I didn't like Lady Bird at all, and I didn't really care for Little Women, so I wouldn't be surprised if it is her best movie.
maybe I have to like do a Greta Gerwig marathon or something. But it's like,
Greta Gerwig deep dive.
yeah,
It's only her third movie, I think.
yeah.
So
Who knows? Maybe for some other episode on the podcast. I'm just kidding. Making fun of my bullshit stuttering tendencies, but it's like Lily Gladstone. I did pronounce that right, right?
yeah.
Okay, thank God. She's it's like biased. Like, there might be a little bit of bias because we saw Killers of the Flower Moon and not Barbie, but you know, if you seriously, I hope I don't need to explain to like adults why a historical drama would probably take precedent over a doll commercial, in regard to best actress.
Well, why didn't Napoleon sweep the nominations?
I don't know. I didn't see Napoleon. Maybe it sucked.
Yeah, I mean that's what I've heard, but it's an historical drama. I don't know.
Ridley
Anyway,
Scott is kind of a hit or miss director, to be honest.
yeah, absolutely. Well, speaking of getting canceled, might as well just throw my little statement. I did not care for Gladiator.
You the the original.
Well, there is only the original.
I I I don't know why I said that. Oh my god, I'm so tired.
I don't know either, but I mean, I haven't seen Barbie either, so I can't really comment on Margot Robbie, whether she was snubbed or not. But I mean, I would assume Lily Gladstone gave a better performance, although she's not even really my favorite of the roles nominated. Um, like at the end of the day, the Oscars don't really matter. Like it's just the Hollywood Circle Jerk Awards,
Yeah,
but I mean, they can give, some films, more exposure and all that. And of course, like films that get nominated for Best Picture that were released earlier in the year can then come out, again in theaters and get a little, second push. Um, but like the awards themselves definitely don't matter. They're not like, oh, yes, this is definitely like the best directing of the year, like, or like a lot of times the winners are very undeserving,
yeah.
and to the point where it's kind of comical. But I don't know. Sometimes some good things get nominated. um they're definitely better than the Golden Globes of yore, uh but I actually did see the nominations for this year. Of course, like everyone's, being like, oh, like there's this Stephen King tweet where
Oh my
he's
god.
like, where he says movie going tastes and the Oscars have like permanently parted ways. And I'm like you could say that about any year. Like, why this year? Like, I don't get it. Like,
He was a Barbie
uh,
stan.
yeah, but it got 8 nominations though. It's not like it didn't do well. It just didn't get like,
But it didn't win Best Actress.
Yeah. Well, nothing's won yet, but in like Oppenheimer, big, you know, well loved movie, got fucking 13 nominations, which is crazy. Um, I don't know, like most of the nominations I think are like, I'm like fine with. Um, I do kind of like want to talk about, some of them. Of course, we're not going to really go into most of them because it'll, I don't know. I don't want to be here all day talking about Oscar nominations, but like, I don't know. Actor in a leading role, Cillian Murphy, Oppenheimer. He's probably going to win. Um, Actor in a supporting role, Robert De Niro got nominated, which is cool. He was really good. Mark Ruffalo in Poor Things was really good, but Robert Downey Jr. is also going to win for Oppenheimer, most likely. Actress in a leading role, Lily Gladstone, that was cool. She got nominated. Her performance was pretty good. Emma Stone actually gave a really good performance in Poor Things, and but Sandra Hüller in Anatomy of a Fall was definitely like my favorite performance of the year. So it's nice to see that get nominated, but it probably won't win. It's either Gladstone or Emma Stone. The Battle of the Stones.
Yeah.
Um,
Not to
yeah.
mention my gallstones. I'm
Damn.
sorry, that was a terrible joke.
That sucks for
That
you. I'm
that
sorry.
that was a terrible joke. No.
Yeah.
As far as I know, I don't actually have gallstones, so don't be
That
worried.
would be bad. I think. Yeah, it would be bad. Well, I think they're called kidney stones. But I don't know.
I've heard them called kidney stones and gallstones, and I mean not gallstones as much, but like
I don't know. We're just showing off our collective ignorance on, because we haven't had to deal with that. Because thankfully,
we
that would really suck.
the the brain is in the jugular, right?
Yeah, that's why if you cut the jugular, you die immediately because it pierces the brain.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess you could
Um,
technically say that, like, because the nervous system is all connected to the brain, like, a part of the brain is in the jugular, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Actress in a supporting role is whatever, but America Ferrera got nominated for Barbie, and that's got to be like really that's gotta kind of suck because like nobody like a lot of like the Barbie outcry, like nobody's really celebrating her nomination. They're basically just like, oh, why didn't these people get nominated? Like, like she got nominated, but she can't even like celebrate it because there's this narrative about, oh, it got snubbed.
Yeah. I think the funniest thing about the whole scenario is everyone pretending that Margot Robbie is somehow oppressed when she's like one of the most successful actresses in Hollywood right now. Just
And like there are other films that got nominated with arguably which are arguably more like legitimately feminist than Barbie, the movie about the dolls.
you know, Anatomy
So
of a
like,
Fall.
yeah, Anatomy of a Fall to an extent, even though like a lot of the cast is male, like you can also argue the same for Killers of the Flower Moon, although it's more just to do well. Yeah, there is like a sort of feminist angle to the main relationship, but it's also about like ethnic cleansing. Um, but like it's like a bunch of people got psyoped into believing that the Barbie movie is some important statement like for feminism or something like up there with like the great literary texts or something. Like it's a movie about fucking Mattel dolls, like a product. Like
It,
even if the movie like is good, just I don't know, it seems crazy to just get that mad over it.
I don't even think the people who made the movie are that mad about it. Like they definitely know the kind of movie they're making.
Yeah.
It's everybody else who like it, it's like the BuzzFeed effect, you know.
Yeah,
Someone wrote a
it is
hot
basically.
take and for like clicks, and then like the normies went off with it.
I forgot to mention there was even a Hillary Clinton tweet, which is like one of the worst tweets I've ever seen now, of all time. And it's like she like is she's like, dear Margot and Greta, while it is unfortunate to win the box office but not take home the gold, like, she's like, oh yeah, your like work is appreciated and whatever. um which is really funny because she's like indirectly referencing her the 2016 election in the Barbie tweet, which is hilarious. And it's like, just I don't know, the most Hillary Clinton thing to say, to try, not to get too political or anything, but yeah.
Imagine being on a first name basis with Hillary Clinton. That's that's what kills me. She calls them by their first names.
Damn. Uh Anyway, moving on. There's animated feature film. I know you're really into animation. Do you want me to actually read these and see if you recognize any?
I think the only ones I'll recognize are The Boy and the Heron and Spider Verse. So
Yeah, of course those got nominated. Elemental got nominated.
oh yeah, that
Um,
was a movie.
yeah, Nimona, which is a Netflix movie, got nominated, and a movie called Robot Dreams got nominated. Which I'd never heard of. I'd heard of the other ones. The only one I've seen is The Boy and the Heron, which is actually pretty good. Um, but Spider Verse will win, obviously.
I don't know. I think that like Boy and the Heron has a good chance of winning too.
I think if anything will upset, it is The Boy and the Heron. This is like one of the rare instances where Disney is like number 3 to win.
They should
Like,
be number 3 for way more, honestly.
yeah, or 4 or 5. Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like they're usually not the worst in the category, but definitely not deserving of the win.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would be kind of happy to see The Boy and the Heron win, even though I haven't seen Across the Spider-Verse. But it would just be cool, and it's, Miyazaki. I think he did win for Spirited Away, but I don't know. It would be kind of cool. I still think Spider-Verse is gonna win, but yeah.
I mean,
I'm
I'd be
gonna
really surprised if Nimona of all things won.
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Cinematography. I'm gonna like skim through a lot of these, but kind of interesting nomination. El Conde, which is like a Chilean black and white movie, got nominated for cinematography, which is just kind of cool to see foreign representation in other categories, because me, I love my foreign films. Oh. um we don't care about costume design personally, I assume, but directing. So Anatomy of a Fall got nominated for directing, which is actually really cool. I think that's, like I've said, it's my favorite film of the year, so it's nice to see it overperform a little bit. And it's a really well directed film, and it's directed by a woman, which, so not all male directors this time, which makes the, outcry over Greta Gerwig being snubbed even funnier. But Killers of the Flower Moon, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest, which is a cool nomination. I think that category is pretty good, actually. They could have been boring with it, but no, I think pretty much all the films. Yeah, I've seen all 5 of the ones that were nominated, and they're all pretty well directed. Gonna skip over the documentary ones. Editing, I'll just say that Anatomy of a Fall got nominated again, which is really well deserving and a really cool nomination. International, Fallen Leaves didn't get nominated, which, you know, that was considered to have a good shot, but yeah, whatever. The front runner for that's going to be The Zone of Interest, which is interesting because it's a British film, but it's all in German. So it's like one of very few films from the UK that can even be submitted into the category. I think the worst category by far is original score because they nominated Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Like, they're just like giving John Williams nominations for nothing. Like, for existing.
Here's a cover of the theme song. Da, 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 da. You remember the theme song from Indie Joe?
I know what that is.
Da, 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 da.
I like when big movie Hollywood studios prey upon my nostalgia for pre-existing movies that also exist.
80s. I'm gonna stop now.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah, that's pretty funny. That's honestly that's the worst nomination, I think. And it should have easily gone to, I don't know, Spider-Verse or Boy and the Heron, but whatever. Yeah.
I know
Best
for a
Picture,
fact that Spider-Verse deserves that nomination more.
Have you actually seen Across the Spider-Verse?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Oh,
and I have
still need to
listened to the
it.
soundtrack.
I've only heard that song with like the meme.
Oh, you mean
I don't know.
the Miguel O'Hara meme song?
Yeah.
There's, yeah, I trust me. There's more to the soundtrack than
I assumed as much, but I'm just saying that was my only exposure to it. But
literally the John Williams thing, that's nothing but memes, cultural memes.
It like he's like it doesn't make any sense because I didn't see the movie, but from what I've heard, he didn't even really make any original music. He's basically just getting nominated because his name's on it, and he's John Williams. But whatever. The last category I'll actually read out is Best Picture. So there's I've seen 7 of them actually. So, which is more than usual because usually they'll come out and I've seen like 2 or 3, and the rest I don't care about most of them. But American Fiction, which is that movie with Jeffrey Wright where he writes the book trying to take the piss out of people's perception of black writers, but then it actually gets really popular. I know we've gone and seen things and the trailer for it played before, so I don't know. I haven't seen it.
I mean, I know the concept is funny. I'll give it that much.
Yeah, I'll probably see it. I assume it's probably just like an okay movie.
Yeah.
Anatomy of a Fall is pretty awesome actually. Really good French film. Barbie is kind of funny conceptually, but not that I've seen the film, although a lot of people were predicting it to get nominated. So I mean, and whatever. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to shit on Barbie, but whatever. Um, the Holdovers, which is a sort of comfy slice of life, Christmassy film with Paul Giamatti in it. Sort of the kind of film that would play very well with Oscars voters, but I actually kind of liked it. Comfy film, but also kind of emotional. Killers of the Flower Moon, of course, very good movie. Maestro, where Bradley Cooper plays a composer. This is probably the one film that I won't see because I've just heard it's not very good and it kind of looks like total Oscar bait. Looks kind of lame. Oppenheimer, of course, which will win. It's definitely the front runner. Past Lives, which is a film about a Korean American woman sort of like reconnecting with a past flame, sort of, well, a childhood friend who she sort of like had romantic feelings for at one point, and it's very like a sort of like a, I don't know, tearjerker kind of film, but I liked that one a lot actually. um Poor Things, which is Emma Stone as a sort of like it's basically like a combination between Frankenstein and Barbie. But it was a good film, very inventive, amazing cinematography and, sets and all that. It's kind of cool that a film as weird as that can get nominated. And last of all, I'm just gonna try to get through this real quick because I've been going for a while. The Zone of Interest, which is like a capital A art house film. It's like very, it's not like a typical narrative film. There's little drama in it, but it's like a film about the Holocaust. But it follows like a German family sort of like trying to make a life for themselves in Auschwitz, like and it's a very different kind of disturbing from a lot of other Holocaust films that come out because you don't actually see any violence on screen. But it's just, the disturbing part is how these characters sort of just go along like through their day-to-day lives, like just like anyone in our society, as if the atrocities being committed are just another part of daily life. But cool. I think it's a good list actually, for the most part.
Yeah, there are a lot of standouts there.
Um, yeah. No, another couple things I'll just add. Godzilla minus one got nominated for visual effects, which is really cool. And bad thing is that Killers of the Flower Moon got snubbed for screenplay, which is crazy. That's insane.
That of all the things that would like win in that category, you'd think it would be the Martin Scorsese film.
And it's like a really great script too. There are like a lot of lines that I can think of that are just still in my head. Some
It's
great.
literally one of those like films where you see the visuals and you can almost like see like the script like leaping off of the page onto the screen,
Yeah. Um.
Asinine.
Yeah. And whatever. So, kind of typical year. Um. I would say that. Um. Yeah. Definitely watch Anatomy of a Fall and Killers of the Flower Moon in the zone of Poor Things in the Zone of Interest. Also, Past Lives is pretty good. Oppenheimer's pretty good, although I don't need to say to watch that because everyone's seen that. And also, The Holdovers was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm protecting the film industry. I saw an indie underground film. You've never heard of it? Oppenheimer. About the historical Robert Oppenheimer. Can you
I
imagine?
believe it's Robert J. Oppenheimer.
I didn't know the middle initial, so I just
Educate
skipped over
yourself.
it. I'm sorry.
Um, yeah, I
I
mean,
I failed you, Killian Murphy.
anyway, I like, I haven't really cared about the Oscars since 2019 when Parasite was nominated. And that was like really fun because it actually won. And wow, my favorite film of the year actually won Best Picture, which was, really awesome. But I mean, this year, it's cool that my favorite movie actually did get nominated, but it's kind of hard to root for it because I just know Oppenheimer is just gonna win. Like, it's just gonna sweep.
By default.
And I'm not even like mad because Oppenheimer is definitely not a bad movie, but I don't know, like it's good enough to like not annoy me, but it's like I don't love it enough to be like, oh yeah, wow, this is so awesome that it's gonna win.
Yeah. I mean, it does. The thing I'll say about Oppenheimer, it did remind me that, like, Christopher Nolan is actually a good director, you know?
Yeah, we needed that after Tenet.
Yeah. I needed that after seeing Interstellar, because I can't let it go. Like, the whole second half of that movie is so much less than, like, it just drops off so hard, basically.
It's crazy to think that Interstellar was like almost a decade ago though.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Nolan can make good movies. Cool. I don't think I really have much else to add though. Uh, I'm assuming you don't either.
Uh, One film I think that definitely got snubbed. Like, this should have just been on the list from the get go. Everyone agrees with me on this. Blue Beetle, like, that should at least be getting the same, like, that should be at least as talked about as Oppenheimer is, you know? Just that
Uh-huh.
was one of the films of the year.
It was indeed one of the films of all time.
Yeah, just
Oh,
come on, guys.
one more quick thing to add. Asteroid City was not really one of my favorite movies of the year, but it didn't get production design, which is insane. Like, because like Wes Anderson, like the production design is a large part of the film.
It's literally like a distinct style, you know?
Yeah, like whatever. That's kind of crazy, but whatever. Anyway, um, anything else you want to say before we just get into the film, or nah?
Uh, I think we bitched about the state of Hollywood and the Oscars and gender politics enough. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think we've been talking for a while. Might as well just get into it.
Yeah.
So yeah. My pick was okay. So I just need to look up so I remember what year it is. Okay.
I think it's 1973.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was 1973. The film I recommended was called okay. It was called The Spirit of the Beehive from 1973, Spanish film directed by Victor Erice. Um, so it takes place in 1940 Spain at the very beginning of Francoist Spain, and this was actually made towards the end of Francoist Spain. And a young girl called Anna sees the movie Frankenstein, and it changes her life basically. And there's other stuff in the film that is relevant, but that's basically the quickest way I can sum it up. So Chris, Pikiss, what did you think of The Spirit of the Beehive?
I can definitely see a lot of the influence on Del Toro's work in this, you know. I mean, there's
Yeah,
nothing explicitly supernatural, but it does sort of have like that tone of like here that
magical realism.
yeah, that sort of that somber sort of state of the world, but also sort of like the value of like the innocence therein. You know, that's the film. It loosely follows the plot of these two little girls, these two sisters, uh, living under their father, um, and it's basically, you know, about their childhood, and it's not much of like a traditional plot with like a beginning, middle, and end. It's more about like the themes of childhood and girlhood specifically, and I guess what it's like to sort of lose that at such a young age, you know,
Yeah,
given
it's about the vibes.
circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah, I do want to go more into like the film itself, but yeah, this was a big film for Guillermo del Toro, and he said that it's in his like top three films, and there are two films that really have just had a profound impact on his work, which are this and Frankenstein, which is funny because Frankenstein is also in this movie. Um, yeah. Um, um, it's it's not like a really, cheery film, not like a really happy film, but there is, a sort of like, magic and childhood wonder to some of it. And it's about, sort of like how, you know, movies can, like make you see the world in a different way and all that. It is also about, the aftermath of the Spanish Civil War and the realities of that. Um, and it's sort of like it like the first takeaway that a lot of people get from this film is that it's about the loss of innocence in childhood. Like uh, Anna sees Frankenstein and she's basically like confronted with the idea of just like death and murder for really the first time in her life, and she's just like, why did the monster, why did Frank the monster kill the girl? It's interesting that we don't actually see the scene where the monster throws the girl into the water. Um, but like, it sort of relies on our knowledge of the film of Frankenstein if we have seen it before. Um, and really a lot of like the way the film tells the story is like sort of just, it kind of assumes you have background knowledge of the situation of Spain at the time. Of course, more people watching this, in Spain would know about that, but yeah. Um uh it's definitely reminiscent of a lot of Guillermo del Toro's works because he's made a couple movies about the Spanish Civil War, and of course that plays a large part in this film. And it really also, you can make the comparison that it's also about a country's lost innocence because it's about the first years of a country's dictatorship, all that. um damn yeah.
No, I definitely like I knew this was sort of like set in a specific historical period. I assumed it was Francoist Spain.
It does say at the beginning just 1940.
Yeah. Uh but it's it's until like there's only like two instances where it like really dives into what it's like to live under like a regime like that. It's like at the very beginning with where it's like the I don't know how to explain it, like the sort of community leaders like organize like a film viewing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like it's Frankenstein, but they like have like a presentation of it. Um,
There's like a disclaimer.
yeah, like a disclaimer basically, where it's like this guy like reads before the film, plays. It's like sort of like I guess like literal interpretation of the themes of the film, but it's also like clearly, the also clearly like being twisted to suit the purposes of like the sort of Christian Catholic regime, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's at the very end where it's like she shows kindness to like the
Rebel soldier.
to the rebel runaway, and as soon as she leaves, he's like killed, you know. And I actually like it because there's like a parallel between that and like sort of the scene in the movie where the little girl like befriends Frankenstein. It's like the film they're trying to use for propaganda like taught her to show kindness to the sort of people that they're trying to demonize, you know.
And it does kind of like put a different spin on the story of Frankenstein because, like, yeah, like, the rebel ends up not being really dangerous directly to her, despite obviously Frankenstein in the movie killing the little girl.
Yeah, it's
Um,
there's also like the you called it magical realism, like the only like vaguely supernatural thing in the movie is like near the end where like
when
Frank
Frankenstein shows up for real.
yeah, but it's clearly like an
But
imaginary friend thing,
yeah, yeah, it's
it's
not like
her,
actually real.
it's like spurred on by her sister's sort of like fantasy talk about, well, I'm friends with Frankenstein and he only appears to people he's friends with, and it's clear it's like she's imagined this scenario in her head to sort of cope with the trauma of like having to deal with the death of this soldier, because she first had to like come to terms with the idea of death, as you said, when she saw Frankenstein. So it's like there's sort of a bookends almost about that there.
Yeah, it's kind of like it does. Um, so it is kind of interesting how Frankenstein is portrayed as like not really so much of a physical, monster, but like as a spirit, hence the title. Um, and being so young, she probably thought that the rebel guy was the spirit of Frankenstein. Um, and of course, it would make sense that she would see Frankenstein like right after, inadvertently getting him killed.
Yeah. I don't know if I can confirm this or not, maybe the credits do, that like the character who plays the rebel and like the actor who plays like the imaginary Frankenstein are like the same actor. Like I'm
I I don't I don't
fairly
I don't
certain.
think they no, I don't think they are. That would be an interesting yeah, I'm looking at the credits, the cast right now, and there's an actor who plays Frankenstein and one who plays fugitivo, or I can't speak Spanish. I know I live in a country bordering Mexico with a large Spanish speaking population, but I can't speak Spanish, but yeah, which I assume refers to the rebel. So no, I think they are different people.
I created a connection in my head. I am the true artist. No, I'm just kidding. No, at the very least, like the actors look very similar then, which is I still think is deliberate in some way.
Mm.
You know, uh,
It's funny that you mentioned that these sisters live under their father, but there is also a mother there, but you don't really think of it as being a family unit
yeah.
because like they're all not ever on screen at the same time. Like I don't even think the father and mother are on screen at the same time,
I don't
which
think they
kind of
ever have a conversation.
no, which does kind of demonstrate that it's like sort of a splintered family unit and also, a splintered Spain.
Yeah, it's not even like splintered in the sense like there's like tension between them. They're just like apathetic towards each other. Like
Yeah, yeah.
they're in their own little worlds, and they're clearly only together for like the sake of the children. Like
Mm-hmm.
the dad does have a decent relationship with his daughters. He like takes them out to like pick mushrooms. To he sort of teaches them how to like identify the safe ones from the poisonous ones. But there's never like a point where they're like all together, and I don't even think there's a point where the daughters like have a conversation with the mother. you know um the most I remember about her is like a scene early on where she's like writing a love letter to like someone else, and it's like implied she's in like a sort of adulterous relationship with someone, or
Yeah.
trying to reconnect with an old flame or something.
I wanted to revisit this because when I first saw it, like, which was way back in high school, probably, I wasn't like a big fan of it. I thought it was boring. But I recently saw another film from the director, which I liked a lot more, uh, about very similar themes of, like, a distant family unit and, uh, Spain, pre-Francoist versus Francoist. Um, and I ended up liking this definitely more on the rewatch, and I got a bit more out of it. Although I don't know, I still feel like I don't know if like everything is like meant to be interpreted like on a deeper level, or if it's just sort of like again, like I said, a atmosphere movie.
I'd
Even though
wager I'd wager it's like a take it at face value sort of thing. Like,
mm,
it's not so much that you can't read deeper themes. It's like what is
yeah,
happening is very very literal. It's very matter of
mm,
fact and blunt. It's it just sort of presents the world and the situation that the characters are in, and sort of lets it play out. They basically the it's it's almost normal to them, but it's also like there's like a feeling of emptiness, of
yeah,
you can't quite like the the feeling I get is that like the adults are like too apathetic and too accepting of like the political situation around them, and too cozy because it doesn't affect them too much because they're well off, and the children are too young to like remember any differently, so it's like mostly normalcy until like the end where like the daughter gets a glimpse of this of somebody like living a harsher life and trying to fight for something more, only for her to not really understand later that person is like, killed, and
Hmm.
that her father had like a role to play in that, you know.
Um, yeah. It's not like overtly dark, but there is just sort of like a, I don't want to say drab because that makes it sound like boring, but like, well, maybe the world is supposed to be sort of portrayed as a little drab and dreary in the film. Like, it's just sort of like these tiny little bits of like childhood wonder sprinkled in, but of course, they can't really help but be sort of extinguished in this, world which, you know, kind of doesn't value childhood wonder and all that.
Yeah. I do wonder, I'm sort of half and half on this because it's like child actors, I don't hold it against them that they're not as good as at acting as adults are. I do wonder if like the sort of dullness, the almost monotone of their delivery and performance is meant to illustrate how repressed they are, or if that was just legitimately the best they could get with the children they had on set.
I mean, I don't know. They do all laugh like in that scene in the school where they're trying to put like the body parts on the human.
Yeah, that was like the only time where they felt really naturalistic to me. So,
Yeah.
but for like the rest of it, like they sort of like have this 1,000-yard stare, and they're very quiet, and it's like I'm I'm I think it works in the film's favor. I'm not sure if it's intentional, but to me at least, it gives the impression that the the kids are like bottling up a lot of emotions, and they're not really allowed to be kids in like a real sense. It's more so like
Hmm.
how adults want kids to be, kids on postcards, basically. Like, oh, look at them laugh and play and from a distance, and not really bother us with any of the baggage that having to raise a young child actually comes with.
Did you notice that the windows in the house have are the same shape as honeycomb?
Yeah, I did.
Whoa, it's just like the house and the community are like a beehive.
Yeah. Uh, Definitely much better bee symbolism than the Wicker Man.
uh, um, Arguably even better bee symbolism than the bee movie.
According to
Um,
all known laws of aviation.
um, I did think it was like sort of neat how by not showing the death in, or at least not like the actual instance of the girl being killed in Frankenstein, it does sort of play on your expectations for a little bit. Like, did the girl get killed by Frankenstein in reality too? But like, no, it cuts to the next day and like, nah, she's fine.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Oh,
Because she's a friend. That's
yeah.
why she saw him.
He's shaped like a friend. He's friend shaped. Good old Frankenstein. I wish he was my friend.
Yeah.
Uh,
Hmm.
uh,
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of like it's a very simple film in its presentation, which is also why like I don't have like as much to like analyze or discuss about it as like some films. But I don't know. I do kind of enjoy it. And I think if I watched it like for a third time at some point, I would probably like it a bit more even.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely a film more about like its themes and ideas than it is about plot or character. You know, it's not even like a full 2 hours. It's like
Yeah.
an hour and like 30 minutes. It's actually like a really quick watch, despite how slow paced it is. Uh,
Yeah, I feel like it is a good duration for the story it tells.
yeah, it it's almost like a short film. Like it's just a little too long to be considered that, but it does give off the same vibes as like a short film to me, to the point where I wonder if that was what it originally was supposed to be, and then it just sort of got extended a little bit beyond that.
The the director Victor Arise actually made a film just last year that I haven't gotten around to yet, but it's like almost 3 hours.
That's a little too long for me. I'm looking forward to starting that in 2024 and finishing that in 2025.
Just like Oppenheimer.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, anyway, yeah, uh, I'm not like crazy about the film. It's not one of my all-time favorites, although I do recognize like its place in the cinematic canon, and it's considered like one of the big Spanish films. Like, like it's of course, it's considered like it's one of Guillermo del Toro's like favorite movies, but also it's just considered to be like one of the best Spanish films ever made. Um, I definitely I like it. Not like one of my favorites, but it was it's cool. It has some nice um things to think about, and the atmosphere is very well executed.
I,
I don't know.
I will say, it's not one of my favorite films ever, but it of the films we have seen and talked about on this podcast, it's might just be recency bias. It is definitely in my top three, alongside Under the Silver Lake and The Empty Man. So yeah,
Wait, what about Hana B?
Hanabi. Oh, did I say that was in my top three ones?
No.
Oh, hmm. Okay, that's in my top five, definitely.
Mm,
Top five.
I mean, damn, I haven't really been keeping track of all the films that we watch, or at least not enough to the point where like I can think, oh yes, this, and like flawlessly list all of them. But uh, yeah, I think Hana B is still probably my favorite film that we've talked about. Um,
That's fair.
didn't we also talk about Barry Lyndon?
Yeah, we did. We definitely talked a lot about Barry Lyndon.
Yeah,
I think that
that
was
would be
like
in
the
my
the first 50 plus minute episode we had.
that would definitely be in my top three, I think, as well. But it's definitely not in my bottom three. Uh, but yeah, I enjoy this film. I think I can say that. I'm glad I ended up. I'm glad I decided to revisit it. Actually, damn. Okay, I might as well end on the most controversial opinion I have about it. Um, it's definitely like very similar to like Pan's Labyrinth in a way, and I wouldn't. And it definitely influenced that film in terms of like you know this sort of messed up Francoist Spain world, and the character sort of tries to cope with it by retreating into fantasy. but I think this sort of does that a bit better because it's like I don't know. I think that the fantasy elements are just like, it does a better job at like blending reality and fantasy, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, I will say to that, I do think that Del Toro did say his intention in Pan's Labyrinth was it's presented ambiguously, but he said the supernatural elements are actually real to the world. I will concede this film is probably better than Pan's Labyrinth. I would want to point out that they are trying to accomplish different things,
Yeah.
even though they are very similar. You can definitely see the inspiration, not just the setting and the subject matter and all that, just the general magical realism thing. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but this film is a lot more somber. It's to me a polemic against sort of the adults and authority figures that just sat idly by and allowed their children to live under Francoist Spain. To me,
Yeah, it's a more reserved film, definitely, as opposed to like Pan's Labyrinth, which is more theatrical.
yeah, Pan's Labyrinth was more about celebrating like imagination and childhood and
Yeah.
holding on to that. You know, so it's that's my sort of takeaway is that like you can have things be inspired by other things, but they sort of they can still like have life of their own in there, because even
Well,
as I
yeah,
was
I wasn't saying that Pan's Labyrinth was a ripoff or anything. It's a very different film, and it definitely has its own identity.
So you don't like Del Toro? I'm sorry, I know it's annoying when I do the Doug Walker voice, but uh
No, I think that you and the Doug Walker voice are inseparable at this point.
yeah, Oni Plays may have started it, but I'll sure as hell run it into the ground. Yeah. But no,
Mm.
sort of what I was getting at is that like, there you can all stories draw inspiration from older works, and I think like the core of imagination isn't so much in making something original, which is impossible, you know. It's more so like making something that's meaningful to you, and and sort of like putting your own signature on it, basically.
Well said.
Yeah. So yeah, I really
Um,
liked this film.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely had some misses with you, but yeah. I was hoping you'd enjoy this one because of its like similarity to Del Toro and stuff.
You were hoping that we would fucking bicker at each other or something? Is that it?
No, I
Ruined the
would never
fucking
want that.
episode.
um, no, that would yeah. I mean, it might be funny, but I don't know. Like, I don't I don't know. Maybe I would want to like seek out a film that would just get us to that point. I don't know if there is one.
I I definitely would try and avoid, I don't know, maybe like a snuff film maybe would.
I don't think I'd want to watch that either.
Yeah. I don't know why that's the first thing that popped into my head. Like, oh, what's a controversial genre? Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, enough of that. I don't really have much more to add. I think it's a cool film. definitely like if you're in the sort of like fairy tale vibe um to films like the works of Del Toro, definitely check this out. I do want to say that I really like the soundtrack and it like perfectly fits the film. It's like sort of like childlike but also slightly eerie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like that sort not it's not literally music box music, but it's like sort of
pretty close.
yeah, sort of like slow, sort of methodical, sort of string music. I think no flute
Hmm.
music. Yeah, you know, and it, sound just very evocative of the sound of children playing and laughing, but like in a very stereotypical way, in
Hmm.
like that "Father, shall we go to the park today?" kind of way to where it's like sort basically like emphasizes the phoniness and emptiness of
Hmm.
that sort of caricature of childhood. So yeah,
Mm, yeah.
yeah.
Do you have anything else to say about it?
Uh, we both. I assume you also saw it on the Criterion channel.
Yeah. Yeah. As of recording, I believe that's the only place it's streaming on. So, yeah, the Criterion channel has a lot of good stuff.
You should get a monthly subscription to the cry.
No,
I almost called it the Contrarian channel.
I mean, you aren't wrong in a way. It's definitely the contrarian streaming service. But I really like it. We're not sponsored, but it's a very good. It's the only streaming service that I use because it has actually a lot of stuff actually worth watching on it.
So, anyways, if you want to watch it, you can watch it on the Criterion channel, and we both give it a glowing review, 2 thumbs up. Siskel and Ebert here, you know.
Um, do you know the film Lost Highway?
I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a David Lynch movie, and one of the posters for it says, um, it quotes Siskel and Ebert, 2 thumbs down, 2 great reasons to see Lost Highway.
That's great marketing. Not gonna lie.
Uh, but anyway, yeah, good film. Uh, since we are done talking about the film, I believe that you have an announcement to make about the
Yes,
podcast.
yes, I do. Shadow the Hedgehog is a bitch ass motherfucker, but beyond even that, we're gonna be taking a break from the podcast for like at least 2 months. Just we basically just need to recharge our batteries. Life's catching up with us, and yeah, we have other projects we'd like to work on too. So yeah,
Yeah, I know the well, it was Chris that made the decision, but I kind of agree with it too. It's like especially when you have a job, like I said, you don't really get a lot of free time to work on other projects, especially since like every now and then I do like just kicking back and watching a movie or reading a book for fun, for just my own enjoyment. Uh, and and again, there are other things I'd like to work on, like videos and stuff. So yeah, it would be nice to get some stuff done in that time period.
yeah. So let us live our lives, you non-existent audience who are probably not watching this. Do not
Yeah,
pester us.
yeah. I mean, it's pretty much done for us. So, but yeah, I mean, I would like to return to it at some point. And if we return to it. We just kind of return to it, I guess. And so we're not really picking something for now.
And who
But
knows,
yeah,
we may talk about really avant-garde stuff when we get back, like Barbie or Blue
Oppenheimer
Beetle.
or Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Anyways,
Anyway, yeah.
enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, the hamster on the wheel stopped in my head there for a second. I guess you'll have a better time remembering than I will. Goodbye.
Yeah. Be nice to each other and watch movies if you want. Movies are cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Watch
Peace.
them in movie theaters even.
I second that.
Yeah. Goodbye.